Hi everyone, it's Charlene. Today I'm going to share with you how I made these 2 cards using dry embossing with our cover plates. These are so fun and easy to make, so let's dive right in. I'm going to start off my first card with the flower pattern cover plate. This is a beautiful cover plate die. You've got lots of little flowers, butterflies, and some greenery in there. I'm using the Spellbinders Platinum 6, and for this machine, you put your cover plate die down face up, and then you're going to spritz the back of your cardstock. I'm using an A2 sized card panel, so it's 4 1/4 by 5.5 inches. And then on top of that, you place the tan embossing mat. And then on top of that, you place the blue embossing plate. Now, other machines are going to have different kinds of sandwiches that you use for this type of technique. So be sure to check your machine instructions, or you can look online at the manufacturer website to see what you need to do in order to do this kind of dry embossing. Now that spritz of water on the back is going to help so that our cardstock doesn't crack. And look at that beautiful dry embossed image we have there. Next, I'm going to take that same exact cover plate die, and this time I am going to cut it out of the cardstock. So I've got my cutting plate, and I'm going to put my cover plate die on there and then cut this from another A2 sized card panel. I'm using Deluxe Smooth White cardstock from Hero Arts. It's 100 pound. It's a great all-around kind of cardstock. It's great for die cutting. It's great for ink blending. And it's going to work perfectly for this technique. I'm using the Hero Wax in White, and you can see I'm going to take that die cut piece and I'm going to place it directly over my dry embossed panel. And the reason I'm doing this is I'm going to use that white Hero Wax, and I have a little sponge tool here. You also could use your finger, or you could use any type of foam dauber to do this. I just don't want to get my fingers dirty. And you just use the cutout from the cover plate die in order to mask your background. So I'm coming through with that Hero Wax, and I'm just going over all of the florals, making sure I get them completely covered with that wax. This is such a fun technique because when we're done, that's really going to shine and look beautiful on the card. Now, there are other colors of Hero Wax that you could use as well. There is a red and a green and a gold, and so lots of different options. I wanted to use white, and this is going to give us a beautiful, subtle white shimmer. I'm doing all the florals, and then I'm also going to come in and do all the pieces of greenery. But I'm going to leave the smallest floral as well as the butterflies alone, and you'll see why. But this wax, once it dries, it's going to act as somewhat of a resist. We're going to do some ink blending. Now, when you're working with the wax, if it starts to build up on the tool that you're using, so in my case, I'm using this little sponge, you can go ahead and put a little bit of water on your work surface and then just mix the Hero Wax with it and rub your tool in there. Because Hero Wax dries fairly quickly, by doing that, you'll be able to soften back up what's in your little sponge. And that's also how you'd want to clean the tool whenever you're finished. So here, look at all of that beautiful shimmer and shine. You can see where we hit it with the Hero Wax. It looks so good. And now I'm going to come in and do some ink blending over everything. I'm going to start off with Cotton Candy Core ink, which is a beautiful pink. And I'm doing this on the diagonal, starting from the bottom right-hand corner. Next, I'm going to use Mist, which is a very light blue. So I'm going to do several coats of it because I want it to show up really well. And then for the top left-hand corner, I'm going to be using Orchid, which is a beautiful purple. Now, I mentioned the wax acts as sort of a resist. It does take on a little bit of the color, but not very much. So those areas where we don't have any wax, they're going to get saturated with the color. And the areas where we do have the wax is just going to have a little bit of the color. Look at that. Isn't it beautiful? Next, I'm cutting down my panel. I'm just using my paper trimmer to cut off about 1/8 of an inch on each side of my card panel. Now I'm going to move on and show you the second way that you can use your cover plate dies for dry embossing. First, I'm going to go ahead and create a background piece. So I have an A2 sized card panel. I'm going to use the same 3 colors. I'm going to start with cotton candy at the bottom, and I'm going to put mist in the middle, and then I'm going to do orchid at the top. And I'm doing this so that when I'm finished, I will have those 3 stripes as horizontal stripes, and they're going to blend right into each other. Now I'm going to use the tulip pattern cover plate die, also very pretty. So I'm going to take my Spellbinders Platinum 6 here. I'm going to place the cover plate die face up onto the platform. I'm going to take my ink blended A2 sized card panel, and I'm going to spritz the back with water. I'm going to place that on top of the cover plate die. Next, I add my tan embossing mat, and I'm going to follow that up with my blue embossing plate and run it through my machine. And when I'm done, it's going to give me that beautiful raised image of the tulip garden. It looks so pretty. Now I'm going to do a similar technique, but different. In this instance, I actually have the layering stencils that coordinate with the cover plate die. These are the color layering tulip pattern stencils. And so I'm going to put the stencil directly over my colored and dry embossed piece, and I'm going to come back in with those same 3 ink colors, the cotton candy, the mist, and the orchid. And I'm going to apply it with a heavy hand just over the tops of the flowers there on the actual floral part of the tulip. Adding that really adds a lot of beautiful color, and it makes those tulips really pop. If you don't have coordinating layering stencils for a cover plate die, but you want to do this same technique with the ink, what you would do is go ahead and cut out an A2 size card panel with your cover plate die. Then you would just need to selectively color where you wanted to. You might have to mask off some areas, or you might want to use a mini blending brush in order to ensure you only get those areas. For my sentiments, I'm going to be using the Wildflowers bundle. This is a beautiful stamp and die set. I love the florals and the butterfly. I'm just going to be using 2 of the sentiments from this set today, and we're going to be doing some heat embossing. So I have a piece of pitch black cardstock, which is a very lovely black cardstock because it has such a deep black color. It's very nice. I'm going to cover it with some anti-static embossing powder, and then I'm going to go ahead and stamp it with my embossing ink. Now I am going to double stamp this with the embossing ink just because I want to make sure that I get a lot of coverage on here because the lettering on these sentiments is a little bit thicker. And then once I've done that, I'm going to come in with some white detail embossing powder, and I'm going to cover the whole thing with that. And then I can come in with my heat tool and melt all the embossing powder. I'm going to cut these out using the coordinating dies, and I am using my compact cutter here, which is nice. It just sits here by my desktop, and I can grab it when I need to do just some smaller die cutting. I cut out a couple extras of that same die cut and black cardstock, and I'm going to layer these up with some precision glue, and that's going to add some depth and dimension to my sentiment for what otherwise is going to be a card with fairly minimal dimension. Once I have those all nice and layered, I can come back and I can start putting my cards together. So I'm going to use that same precision glue, and I'm going to go ahead and glue my beautiful piece here that has the wax as well as our ink colors. And I'm just going to glue that directly to an A2 size card base. Once I've done that, I'm actually going to put an acrylic block over the top of it because that's going to help to flatten out and ensure that all those areas that I've hit with glue are going to adhere to my card base. So you do want to be a little bit liberal with the glue when you are gluing down a dry embossed image, just because not everywhere that you are putting glue is going to adhere to your card base. So it's better to have a little bit of extra glue on there so you can ensure a good bond. I switched the acrylic block over so I could glue my sentiment onto the first card. Again, place the acrylic block down on that one and went back to the other and added my sentiment on there. And that's going to finish off these 2 cards. Really beautiful. Here they are up close. I hope you guys picked up some tips and tricks today. Please be sure to like and subscribe, as well as hit that notification bell so that you'll get notified about future videos here on the Hero Arts channel. Thank you so much for joining me, and I hope you all have a wonderful day.